Hi, I'm Anthony Hendrickson, Dean of the Hyder College of Business. Welcome to beautiful downtown Omaha, Nebraska, and this month's Mid-America Business Conditions Index. We surveyed purchasing and supply managers in the 9-state region, stretching from North Dakota and Minnesota right down the center of the country to Arkansas and Oklahoma. Here to discuss the survey's economic outlook is Creighton University's economic professor, Ernie Goss.
Hello, I'm Paul Adey with Dr. Ernie Goss, ready to talk about the Mid-American Business Index for the month of June. Dr. Goss, can you believe we're in July already?
Oh, all halfway through. And the overall number was very strong. In fact, the highest index since that we recorded in almost more than 6 years.
Wow, really?
So it was a good reading, shows, and it points to an economy, and of course this is a 9-state region, that's going to continue to grow, expand at a pretty good pace. Of course, there are always risks, but we'll talk about those later. It was a good report. Inflationary pressure still modest, job growth in there as well. So it was one of the best reports since 2011.
Well, that's fantastic. That's a good way to start the show.
Yeah, but we economists, we like sometimes we like to see the gray lining around the silver cloud, you know. So.
Right. Well, according to the June survey, you kind of touched on this, is economic growth and job creation likely to expand, contract, or move sideways in the next 3 to 6 months? It's
going to expand. The job growth, the job number for the month was 60.7. That's the job index. That's up 60.7, up from 62.3 in May. The overall index was up from 62.4 in June to 55.5 in May. So those are good numbers. But the ability to grow the jobs significantly is limited by finding and hiring qualified workers, particularly in this part of the country. So even though the index is high and grow and everything is looking strong, it's sometimes difficult to find and hire those qualified workers.
It's hard to find good help, Dr. Goss?
Skilled workers, electricians,
yeah.
Whether it's electricians, we need plumbers, we need welders. Not many economists. We've got enough economists. So that's what we're seeing. But it was the 7th straight month that the index has grown, so that was good news.
Fantastic. In what areas will hiring pick up, and what areas will hiring sink, other than economists?
I think we're gonna see hiring begin to filter back into some of the metal products, and depending a lot on what happens in automobile vehicle manufacturing, but that's holding up pretty strong. We're seeing, believe it or not, trade restrictions on steel, and that could have some impacts, positive impacts on, I'm not supporting those necessarily tariffs and restrictions, but could on the metal producers in the area. We're seeing food processing going to continue to expand. That's a good area. We're going to see alternative energy being very strong, even with a new administration. That's continuing to be good, whether it's wind energy, whether it's ethanol, those are good.
Great. What's the outlook for wholesale and retail inflation?
Both up a bit, wholesale a little less than retail inflation or consumer price index. So the retail inflation's still going to be trending up probably above 2% in the months ahead, year over year. And the wholesale inflation up less than that. We asked about how much you expect prices to grow over the 2017 versus 2016, 1.7%. That's not strong. That's not something to get concerned about. But the Fed, the Federal Reserve, their economists, most primarily on the open market committee that sets the rates, they get concerned about inflation. So they get concerned even when maybe there's not much reason to be concerned.
Given this inflation outlook, what do you expect the Federal Reserve's interest rate setting committee to do at the next meeting?
Well, they've sort of promised us one more rate hike. We've had 3 since December, and they promised us one more, and that's probably going to come in September. I think the September meeting, they meet 8 times a year. The September meeting, I don't expect a rate hike at the next meeting, but I think in the September meeting, we're likely to see a rate hike, even if we don't need it. I mean, just for good.
Keep us on our toes.
Keep us on our toes.
That's what they like to do.
Well, we economists, we like to, again, as it's often said, take away the punch bowl when the party gets going. And the party's going right now, at least in the Mid-America. Not as much job hiring, but still the overall buoyant economy, confidence is up, seeing much business confidence is up, new orders. Exports were up, imports were up. So those are all, there was very little bad news in there that I could figure it out in our survey, our June survey of supply managers, and these are supply managers.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Over the next month or so, what economic indicators should investors, business owners, job searchers, and economists be watching?
I think the 10-year Treasury, the yield, the interest rate of yield, it's up to 2.15 or down to 2.15%. That will give you a gauge of risk. When risks go up, that yield actually comes down. And so like for example, when we had Brexit on June 23rd of last year, the yield went down to 1.38%. 1.38%.
Wow, that's been a year ago already.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. I hadn't thought about that.
Me neither.
Yeah, I just been here in the fog.
Right.
1.38%, and so if it goes up, that is an indication of risk are getting less. If it goes down, something's happening. Now, also, if it goes up, now on the flip side, inflation. When inflation ticks up, that yield will tick up as well. So keep an eye on that. So, and that's the inflation gauge. If it starts moving higher, and particularly with the Fed selling bonds, that's could be troubling with higher interest rates, higher mortgage rates. That's something to keep an eye on.
Perfect. Leads into my next question. It's like we practiced this a little. What are the risks or economic events that, if occurring, could jeopardize economic progress for the U.S. economy?
Trade restrictions. Okay. Easy on that one. The trade, and of course, we've got an administration that talks about trade restriction. We've got trade, or at least travel to Cuba that's been restricted. That's a real concern. When I'm troubled by politicians getting into my territory, economics, and when economics and politics move together, economics loses that battle. It's always, politics wins, we economists lose. So that's the real thing to watch. In other words, if you start to see, well, we're going to crack China's knuckles, well, it cracks our knuckles as well. Mm-hmm. It hurts some of our businesses, particularly this part of the economy, the agricultural economy. We sell a heck of a lot of grain and more beef coming forward. We're going to see some beef sales, a lot of beef sales in China.
Got to bring home the bacon, if you will, Dr.
Not
Goss.
from the cow.
Sorry,
I do know enough about. I've been on the farm a little more than that.
I've been living a little high on the hog, you might say. And
not on that cow, though. Not on that.
Well, yeah, not on the cow. Overall, June sounds like a fantastic month. Am I getting verbose? Am I being over the top?
No, fantastic might be a little overdone because of finding hiring qualified workers, but it still was a good report, and we're going to see again continuing moving forward with a caveat of what we just talked about, trade restrictions.
Overdone. How you like your beef?
I tell you, it's well done and rare.
All right, there we have it for June, Dr. Goss, the Mid-American Business Index.
A good report. Until we meet next time, may your economic cup runneth over.